Okay, what we are about to start doing here is we are going to close these windows, and we are going to create a box and whisker plot. Here in this particular problem, what we're given is 20 students were asked how many hours they worked per day. Their responses in hours are listed below. So we have these different number of hours that students are working every day. What we'd like to do is we'd like to draw a box and whisker plot. In order to draw a box and whisker plot, what we need to find is what's called the 5-number summary. For the 5-number summary, there's 5 pieces of information that we're interested in finding. We want to find the maximum value and the minimum value, so the biggest and smallest values in the list. We also want to find the median, which is the very middle value. If you order them from smallest to biggest, it's the one in the center, such that 50% below and 50% above that value, 50% of the data lies below the value and 50% of the data lies above the value. Then we also want to find the value for Q1, which is called the first quartile, which says 25% of the data lies below that point. And we want to find Q3, which says that 25% of the data lies above that point. All right. We can find some of these just by looking at the values, and actually none of them are really too hard to find just using different things, but let's practice using our TI. So here I've got a picture of a TI, and we can watch exactly what sorts of things are going to be involved in order to find those. If we would like to enter data in a list to find all of these functions, we do all of that under the Stat button here. Anytime we want to enter data, we just hit the Enter button, and that gets us to where our lists are. So at this point in time, my L1 is all empty, so it's all ready to enter my data. So I'm just going to go through and enter all 20 of those values. So first we have 5, then 6, then 3, 2, 4, 7, 5, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 4, 4, 3, 5, 2, 5, and 3. Now notice this says it's waiting for the 21st number, so I did in fact get all 20 scores, which is what I was expecting. The next thing I want to do is to have the calculator actually find these values for me. All right, so how do we do that? Well, it's all back under the Stat button. So we hit Stat again. That screen comes up. We use the right arrow to arrow over to Calc, and we're going to choose one var stats, one variable statistics. We want to use list 1, so we're just going to hit Enter there. Some calculators actually, earlier versions of the TI, have you hit second and then 1 to make the L1 screen come up. In this case, we'll just go ahead and hit this, and we want it to calculate. So we'll go ahead and hit Calculate. And here is all the data that I want. Now this first bar here is X bar is the average. That is absolutely nothing that we are looking for when we're doing box and whisker plots. So what we want to do is go down and find what we are interested in. So we hit the little down arrow because it says that we're looking for all these other values here. When we start, all my 5-number summary actually comes up all in a row. Actually, we probably could have written them in this order and that would have been better. The smallest value, the min, is 2. The biggest value, the max, is 7. My median, in this case, is 4, the middle number. Q1 is 3, and Q3, in this case, is 5. And that was just the values that the calculator gave me. Now, the next thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to create the box and whisker plot. The box and whisker plot is made by actually creating a number line along the bottom. You want to make sure that we go ahead and number what those values are. In this case, my smallest value is 2, my biggest value is 7, so I got to make sure I at least go that far. So here we've got, we'll just start at 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now when I'm creating my box plot, the first thing I always like to do is I like to make my box. My box is found by the edges, the outside edges of the box are located at Q1 and at Q3. Now Q1 happens here at 3, so right above 3 I'm going to make the left side of my box. Q3 occurs at the value of 5, so right here at 5 on the number line I'm going to create the right hand side of my box. And then I can connect the top and the bottom to make the actual box of the box and whisker plot. So it looks like that. Then I want to find the median. The median in this case is 4, so I'm going to have a line that comes down the middle of my graph right at 4. And so that comes in right here. Now for the whisker part of the box and whisker plot. We have the whisker is just a line that stretches out of the middle of my box. It's going to go from Q3, the outside edge, all the way out to whatever the maximum value was. And in this case, my maximum value was 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a line that goes out straight from the middle of the box at Q3, so from 5 up to the maximum value at 7. Then I'm going to have a box going this way to the left. It's the left-hand whisker. The length of the whisker is the distance from Q1, which is the side of the box, to the minimum on the left, which in this case is 2. So here's my minimum of 2, so I want this left side whisker to go from 3 down to 2, which is right here. So this would be an acceptable and lovely example of a box and whisker plot. Now, in some instances, we're going to be asked different kinds of questions about box and whisker plots, and they're usually fairly straightforward as long as you remember. And here, let me change colors so we can kind of see things here a little bit better. Oops, move my screen over here. Let's go to red. Let's suppose that I have a question that asks me something like, what percentage makes more than, or what percentage of students work more than 5 hours? Well, I can look at this graph and see where the 5 is. Notice that it's the right-hand side of the box. So the right-hand side of the box, everything bigger than it, out in this direction. Everything out in this direction here from the side up there is 25%. Essentially, every little portion of the box and whisker plot represents 25% of the graph. The left whisker is the lower 25%. From the side of the box to the middle of the box is kind of the middle low 25%. From the middle of the box to the far right of the box is the upper part of the. So that's 50 or 25% from there to there, and then from this upper box to this section up here is also 25%. Notice they're not symmetrical. That's totally fine. It all is going to vary and depend on what your data looks like. But just essentially, each whisker represents 25% of the graph, and each mini box half represents 25% of the graph. And you can use that to help you answer any questions that you have about the data as you're doing it. Hope that helps. And in the next video, what we'll do is we'll explore what to happen if you have group data, and that changes the way you enter things on your calculator a little bit in finding the max, min, median, Q1, and Q3. So we'll get a little bit more practice there. Hope this helps.